Hi everyone, it's your boy Zach, and this is my review of The Green Hornet from 2011. So, you might be able to tell from my voice that it's a kind of positive review. Usually when something's just awful, it's affected me. I'm just like, hey everyone, okay, so just to get into it, Green Hornet is a movie that either starts terrible and gets better, or has a very unique likability factor that took me basically half of the movie to recognize. So, Green Hornet is a 2011. Yeesh. Does that seem like a really long time ago? I was kind of shocked when I saw it was 9 years ago. 2011 film, starring Seth Rogen, written by him and his childhood friend, who they're writing partners. I really can't believe this is not a cult film, and I almost think it's about to be. So it came onto my radar screen because it's on Netflix. I don't remember it ever being on Netflix before. And Netflix started doing their top 10, I believe, of a 24-hour cycle. And for one day, it was in the top 10. I was like, that's pretty crazy. So I watched it, and then I remembered that I've actually given it a couple tries over the years. I got like 5 minutes in, and I quit. It actually has a pretty good opening with... was it Christoph Waltz? He's the villain Chudnovsky, and he's in they got a meeting with James Franco, who's a modern day gangster, and he's making fun of Chudnovsky. He's like, "You're old, you got no style," and then Chudnovsky pulls out this double-barreled pistol. He's like, "I've got no style." He's like, "Look at this gun; it has 2 barrels. It was very hard to make." That's funny, and actually, I'm going to amend. I don't think anything would really save the first half. So, one of the weird things about this is, like I said, I don't remember it being that long ago, but it was fairly, it's almost 10 years ago. Here's the other crazy thing. I remember this being a super flop. It made $230 million worldwide. Now, I know that isn't a lot, but its budget was $120 million. Now, once you throw in all of the, the pay-per-view, they had pay-per-view back then, Redbox, which was huge, back then, cable, all the other different side deals, ancillary deals you can get, they made a profit. It was a profitable film. It didn't get a sequel because the profit wasn't large enough, which is kind of a weird gray area to be in. Profitable, but not profitable for a sequel. Government name Squeakquel. So anyway, one of the reasons the first hour is so awful, except for the Chudnovsky introduction scene, is that Seth Rogen's character is a piece of shit. Like, I always have this bit where I always joke around how SJWs always need you to know that they're morally superior to cartoon characters. Homer Simpson is trash, and we need to talk about it. I'm not saying it's about me. I'm saying about you, everyone. Almost everyone out there, including the villains in the movie, are better people than Seth Rogen's Britt Reed, lead character. Not only is he horribly unfunny, and I'll come back to that later, but he's one of the most selfish, self-centered idiot characters I've ever seen in anything. Like, he is horrifically unlikable. So how does he become Green Hornet? Well, when that actor you recognize, who's been in a million things, whose name I can't remember, is his father, I assumed it was gonna, and they established his father was a real hard ass. I assumed that it was gonna be, hey, your father just died, and oh my gosh, he's the Green Hornet, and you have to take over for him. Nope. The Green Hornet completely gets, the 1940s looking Green Hornet costume gets invented in 2011 through reasons. Here's the funny thing. It actually kind of works. Here's the problem. It works as the lead character being a egotistical, unlikable idiot and just doing random things. And that's how you get the name, that's how you get the costume, that's how you get the concept, that's how you get everything. So he starts, he becomes his, oh jeez. So this is the intro to Kato. He's a rich guy. He parties. He bangs chicks. He wakes up with a new chick every night. But he always has this coffee with they do the cream and they make a little design. It's a leaf. So he's had it every single morning. The day after his father dies, it's different coffee and it tastes terrible. So he goes, he lives like in the pool house for some reason, and he goes to the mansion and he starts screaming, "Why is my coffee not the same?" And then a maid says, "Oh, everyone was fired when your father died." To which I say, "How are you not fired?" So then he goes, "Bring me the person who made the coffee." So it's Kato who got fired. And then he's like, tell me how my father hired you. He's like, okay, so this is the actor who plays Kato is pretty good. He's got charisma, and weirdly enough, Green Hornet and Kato, Britt Reed and Kato, they end up having like a good bond by the end of it. He's basically speaking phonetically, and that's pretty damn painful, and you just have to get used to it. I mean, it's rough. But he's like, I grew up on the streets in Hong Kong, and then I came to America, and then I fixed cars, and then your dad hired me to fix his car, and then he said he liked coffee, so I built a coffee machine, and I build things. And like, it comes off just that bluntly. It feels like I do this all the time. On a first, second draft, I will put in placeholder dialogue, and it's terrible. It's literally just basically exposition. It's like, okay, try to work this in better. But you're like, this is really what you're going to go with? So anyway, getting back to that. This movie's so strange, but weirdly kind of compelling. Like, it's kind of like, if you know the French phrase, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, jolie laide. It means beautiful ugly. It's like actresses like Sandra Bernhard. Like, the first time you go like, ugh, but you kind of can't stop looking at her. So even though like it's really like a train wreck, I didn't quit. I just stopped to go read articles like, what happened? What is up with this movie? And two things. Number one, the director, I'll get back to him, seemed to be sincerely trying to do what he thought was a big budget American movie. But then Seth Rogen, who I think was a producer, definitely was the lead writer on the script and the star. He literally said flat out, he goes, "I would rather not work for an entire year than do a sequel for pay for this money." So he had come up through the Judd Apatow and other with his buddies, and they had a very successful formula, especially 10 years ago. Low budget, a lot of improv, a lot of vamping, a lot of rewriting on the set, and a lot of editing themselves or under their supervision. So their stuff was not only profitable, it was highly profitable. They'd make a movie for 10 million, it would make 100 million. Great, that's a great margins. But then when he got on this, it's 120 million. So now he goes, all of a sudden, all the things we used to do, vamp and improv and rewrite at the last minute, and then he's like, at night we get a better idea. So, are the sets still up? Let's go in early tomorrow and reshoot the entire scene with complete. They can't do that. So all of it got locked in. So basically, it's a first draft movie. And now they went through iterations of the script, but his old workflow was completely destroyed. Here's where it gets interesting. Michel Gondry just seems legitimately confused. The funny thing is, so I was watching this, what was it? It was a Mobius documentary. And they were talking to all the people from heavy metal. Oh, I'm blanking on the guy's name. Jodorowsky. And Jodorowsky, I actually kind of forgot about this. I kind of forgot that there's people in the world who just like hate Americans and hate American culture. And he was talking about Mobius going to America and, doing some stuff with Marvel. And he was just disgusted. And he said something like, he expressed that, and he was very kind of like classically like old school European, kind of very theatrical. And he's like, "I piss on Americans, I shit on them." And I was like, I got angry because I'm American. I was like, fuck you, buddy, with your freaking dentures. I was pissed. I was ready to fight a 90-year-old French or Argentinian. It's not just about like hating Americans and hating American culture, but some of them just don't understand. And I really do think Michel Gondry, if you don't know Michel Gondry, I call him like a stunt director. He does like a lot of optical effects, but he did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which that title alone promises I will never see. I don't care how good it is. I can't get past that title. But he did Be Kind, Rewind, which is a freaking masterpiece. I freaking love that. he hasn't done much, he does his own little artsy things ever since Green Hornet. But I really think that he watched a bunch of American superhero movies. This is 2011, so Iron Man, Thor had Thor come out? Iron Man had come out. Captain America came out? And then they had the earlier ones with X-Men. And I really think that he thought he was doing a good job. He's like, so the American superhero film is, I've seen several of them. So I did what they do. The hero is a psychopath, sociopath, misogynist. The women are meat for him. The men are targets for bullets. He kills the bad guys. He kills the cops. He kills the innocent bystanders. He hits everyone. He slaps everyone. I'm doing it good. I did a good American superhero movie. I don't understand why he gets a better review. Like, I got the feeling of utter sincerity while also confusion. Like, he didn't understand why, yeah, you can have guns pop out of the hood of a car on American streets and just start slaughtering all kinds of drug dealers, but you can't get in a car chase by cops and then smash in the entire driver's side, obviously killing the driver, which is what happens in the and they really don't make much of it. I mean, at one point, like I said, I'm literally rooting for the villain, who's been more reasonable and more human. So Chernovsky's deal is that he's like older and he's not very threatening. He's smart. So at one point he lures the Green Hornet and Kato into this construction site, and it's really awesome. He gets 2 cement mixers to box them in, and then another one to ram them on the side, push them into a pre-dug, essentially a grave for the size of the car, and then they have a what do you call it? Steam shovel, bulldozer, push some dirt out. And it's like, and it's really slickly done, and it actually makes you really admire the villain. The heroes get out by like the stupidest plan ever, where they fire missiles underground, and somehow that doesn't blow them up, but it blows everything else up. And then at one point they're getting shot, and then Green Hornet, Kato's ready to fight, and then Green Hornet is just running away, ineffectually shooting his gas gun over his shoulder, saying "every man for himself." So I'm like, no. I totally understand how that gets into a first draft as like a goof. It's called Green Hornet. It's not called Kato. Green Hornet's a King Dingling. Even if he has to go through the hero's journey, like in Mask of Zorro, you never have him just completely coward running away, saying "every man for himself." Like, you've essentially broken it. Here's the amazing thing. Oh gosh. This is going to be a long video. I haven't even gotten into Cameron Diaz. So even at the time when this came out, and Green Hornet had been in production forever, ever since, I mean, even before the Batman movies, but once the Batman movies came out, late 80s, early 90s, they're always talking about, we got to get Green Hornet. And like, George Clooney was attached forever to it. But honestly, I have never really met once. The only people who say I love Green Hornet are the people who say I love everything. I love Flash Gordon. I love, Millie the Model. I love if I've heard of it, I love it. Honestly, I mean, I know there's people like, what is it, Razor Fist, who he's really into the Shadow. Is it I'm blanking. It's Razor something, right? I've never met a huge Green Hornet. So even though you're like, I don't know, I don't care. Does anyone else care? No, nobody cares. So, it was kind of on my radar screen, but I was like, this looks stupid. I'm not going to see this shit. But then they announced Cameron Diaz, who by 2011 was way past roles like this. This is a role with less depth than her role in The Mask, where she was the pretty girl who's pretty and a girl. She had done like Vanilla Sky. She had done well-acclaimed, she was in Any Given Sunday. Worked with top directors. And yeah, I know Michel Gondry is very respected, but I mean, this script was shit, and her role is probably one of the worst roles I've ever seen for a woman. One of the weird things is to look at movies that they weren't that long ago, but they kind of were. They were like 10, 20 years ago. I mean, now it's 2020, and 2000 was 20 years ago. Yeah, math. It seems recent. Like, I remember 2000 very well. But it was a while ago. So I always talk about when I watch Saving Silverman, there's a whole scene late in the movie where the whole joke is the guy's Asian. He's Asian. It's funny because he's Asian. It's really racist, and it honestly kind of ruins the movie. I mean, Trading Places is from like 1983, and they have blackface in that, but that was almost 40 years ago. Saving Silverman was 19 years ago, and they have an entire character and scene that's just this guy is Asian. And then I'm watching other movies, and even like 2011, like it's really like, I'm not trying to sound woke or something like that, but it's really oppressive for women. Like the whole role is like, this is character, and everyone's like, hey, want to bang? And she's like, oh no, I'm trying to interview for a job. Yeah, you should bang after I hire you, or to get me to hire you. And this is basically the dialogue. And then like, it's just presented as like, yeah, I mean, she's a woman trying to get a job. I mean, of course you're gonna try to bang her like during the interview every day. And they even mentioned sexual harassment, but it's like something out of the 1950s is like the boss chasing the secretary around the desk. She's like, ooh, I'm gonna call my brother, he's going to punch you in the nose. And he's like, oh, you should try. And they're like flirting. It's like, what the hell's going on? The other thing, and this is kind of a little awkward to say, is Cameron Diaz is my age. I look like shit because I fought in 2 desert wars and my skin was absolutely destroyed by the sun. But I didn't really look like shit 10 years ago. I was starting to. It really started to collapse like 3 or 4 years ago. It's 10 years ago when it was filmed. She was like 35. She looks like she's pushing 50 for some reason. And then they even make a point of talking about how old she looks in the movie. That felt like I was dreaming that entire scene. It's how they had in the Avengers movie where Chris Pratt put on some weight and then they kind of made a joke about it. He's like, okay, yeah, I'm listening. I need to exercise more. But like everyone else looks fine. It's movie lighting, and I mean she looks middle aged. She's 35, and then they make a point of saying it, and they're like, oh, you're the older woman. And she's like, oh, I'm 36. I'm like, what's going on here? So her role is completely useless and just very, very odd. But the pairing of Britt Reed and Kato and them getting better as superheroes actually does happen. They start to work together more. Britt Reed really steps into the hero role more. And they have an end where it looks like it's the stuff that Michelle Gondry is good at, which is basically setting up a Rube Goldberg device of scenes. There's a great scene where there's an order, hey, go kill the Green Hornet. And they show the word spreading, and every time one person tells someone and then they go to tell someone else, the frame will split, and it's kind of like this weird like kaleidoscope type of thing, and it's amazing. But you know what the next scene is? A whole bunch of dead people who are just wearing green. So the villains were told to go hunt the Green Hornet, and then they just killed anyone wearing green in Los Angeles that night. Like, that's really bad writing. But then at the end, I mean, they actually introduced like the second or technically main villain, like way at the end. It's the sheriff from Stranger Things. I'm blanking on his name. And everything wraps up very well. There's even a cool bit where Britt Reed gets shot in the shoulder with some 5.56, and they're like, go to the hospital. He's like, I can't go to the hospital. I got a freaking 5.56 round from SWAT team in my shoulder. So what they do is they set up, his newspaper had been attacked, so he's doing a press conference the next day, and then they have Kato. One of the bits is that Green Hornet and Kato are seen as villains. They're not seen as heroes. They're seen as villains. That they purposely cultivate a reputation as villains. So then Kato comes up to the press conference and says, this is from the Green Hornet, and then pretends to shoot him so he gets to go to the hospital. That was actually really smart and witty and fun, and it was played quite well. So weird movie. So weird I can't believe it's not a cult hit. Maybe it will be. Oh, my phone is overheating. It's weird, I have the AC on. I did go for 20 minutes. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I have no idea what will be next. Thanks, bye.